My guest today is Hasleen Kaur, a former Miss India. An accomplished actor featured on platforms like Netflix and Sony, Hasleen has worked for India's leading designers, graced the covers of Femina and GQ, and represented global brands like L'Oreal and Perfectil. Beyond the rampant screen, as an entrepreneur and creative director in advertising, Hasleen has helped build campaigns for brands including Mercedes-Benz and Keventers, blending her creativity with purpose. Without further ado, let's just get started. Hi, Hasleen. A very warm welcome to Atlanta Diaries.
Hello, Enma. Thank you so much for having me. And thank you for putting a rather long bio in a very crisp and concise manner, highlighting every point and every milestone that I've achieved. Thank you.
Absolutely. So, love for you to share with us how did your early years shape your love for being on stage and then taking on this journey?
So when I was in school, participating in everything from, classical dance to music competitions to theater, participating in plays and debating. And it's something that I don't shy away from. I enjoy performing for an audience and doing something that I've rehearsed over and over. It's something that I thoroughly enjoy. While I was studying, I participated in a pageant called the May Queen Ball, which is organized for daughters from the defense background. And my parents felt that that would be another feather in my cap, so they pushed me into it. And I won that. And there was a photographer called Rahul Datta. He gave me my first portfolio and he sort of pushed me into the world of modeling in Delhi. And I started modeling. I started enjoying it all the more while I was studying. And the obvious next step right after that became Miss India. Rahul, in fact, said that if you're not filling the form, I'm going to fill it up for you. And he spoke to my parents. He's like, I don't know what this girl is up to. And she's like, she wants to finish studies. But I feel this is the right time because at the young age of 18, 19, 20 is when you must participate and don't delay it any further. And I won the Miss India Earth title in 2011. And everything sort of was falling into place, one step at a time.
I think we all need some cheerleader in our journeys. Looks like Rahul was one of those cheerleaders. So, love for you to share about how did Rahul really convince you and, talk to us a little bit about that journey.
So, a lot of judges took a stand for me. Him and Gul Panag and JJ Valaya and Ambika Pillai, who's a very well-known makeup artist, they all kind of got together and they all had a unanimous name. That's what he said, that it's Hasleen that we'd like to see as a winner for this. So I was really glad that I got his attention. I think it was money from his pocket because he had an entire team ready for me, from makeup artists to stylists to the editors. And he also gave me my first cover photo of a magazine called Lifestyle. I look kind of morbid in that cover picture and no idea how, to pose in it. But then he made me feel all very glamorous and, important and the center stage of it all. He was just after me like a parent. He's like, you have to do this. You have to pursue this. And at that time, things were very different. Now with social media, the exposure for young girls is that much more. That time it wasn't the case. Things were difficult. But Rahul did all that spade work because he's like, I'll put it up. I'll get you the leads and I'll get you more photo shoots. You just get started. And my first, I think, slew of photo shoots initially for the first 2-3 years mostly happened with him. When I'd done my first film, I remember I was on set. It was my first or my second day. And I gave him a call and I said that, Rahul, the dream that you saw for me is finally getting realized. And I'm here on set and I'm shooting a movie as a lead character. And it's something that I had never imagined myself. And you did it for me. You pushed me to do that. And he was very proud. There's this mutual admiration and it's been more than 15 years now.
Awesome. So you also said the complex world of modeling early on. So share with us, what kind of complexities did you experience and how did you then navigate that modeling journey?
So there used to be a modeling agency called Elite, led by this phenomenal lady called Sushma. And I went in for a meeting over there. They liked me and they said, okay, we've seen your previous body of work and we'll send your auditions to Bombay. We'll groom you a little more. We'll do some calendar shoots, blah, blah, blah. And if you were signed by them, meant that you would do good work. But prior to Elite, I remember I had done Fashion Week auditions. I wanted to walk the ramp for designers. I used to see, models like um, Carol Gracious, Sheetal Malhar, uh, then Candice Pinto. They were the supermodels of their time. And I used to see videos of ramp walk of them, and I'm like, I have to do this. But I know I failed my first Fashion Week audition because I was too thick. As every Punjabi girl who loves to eat her paratha, I was not the right size. And for the second time when I auditioned for it, I really worked very hard. When everybody in college was enjoying all the roadside food of Delhi and, indulging themselves in break time into eating Maggie or chola kulcha and all of that, I was drinking a healthy juice or a smoothie at that time.
Oh.
And they would all sort of make fun of me. But I'm like, no, I got to lose those extra inches off my bum. So that is something that I think I painstakingly put myself through because I was so enamored by the modeling world and I got into the shape of what a model is. I had the height, but I had to really work hard. And that was my entry into this complex world, as you said. And it wasn't easy navigating through it because Delhi, you meet some good casting agents and you meet some weird casting agents who make false promises. And then, you being a young girl, they try to take you for a ride. So I was quite wary of that. I would talk to people and get an understanding of who's safe, who's not safe. My dad used to drive me to a lot of auditions, so he used to be waiting outside, or my mom used to come along, used to be waiting outside while I went in and did my thing, came out. So that was something my parents were like, okay, we support you in this, but at the same time, you have to be sure of what's a safe place and what's not. So that is something which, I had to get an understanding of that not everyone has your best interest in mind. And you have to be careful as a girl. So yeah, that was the tough part.
So call them naysayers, call them people who thought you're crazy, weird. So how did you deal with these kind of partners in the journey? Because some level, I think they also push us and, sort of make us more firm about what we want to do.
Oh, absolutely. And I love such challenges. Until today, if someone says that I can't do something, I feel all motivated to prove them wrong. I remember as a Miss India aspirant, I was invited for a panel discussion by a news channel in Delhi. I remember sitting in that room with everyone else and everyone sort of discussing who they are and sharing where they come from. And I just blurted out as a young girl, I've just filled up the form for Miss India and I'm going for it and I'm very excited. So someone commented saying that, not with those thighs, honey. And I was like, people can be that blunt? Really? I was sort of taken aback, but I'm glad she pointed that out. We worked harder, even more, to bring us into the right shape and, be in the right frame of mind that these challenges are going to come along all the way. Everyone's going to be like, oh, this is probably not the right choice. You're wasting your years. This time you should be focusing more on your studies and focusing on profession that's going to be more fulfilling in the future. But somewhere I felt that if I don't give it a shot now, I'll always regret it. And then as an actor also, getting into the line of acting from modeling, transitioning is also very tough. People don't take you as a serious actor. When you model for such a long time, you do get used to not emoting as much. But as an actor, you need to be a free-flowing emoter. And for me, that journey and transitioning also took a long time. And also breaking people's perception that I can do it. I'm good on camera, I can emote, I can tap into feelings, and I can get into a character and I can display emotions. So that took some time. And that again has many naysayers along the way, but we still did it.
So it's not like you were running away from that journey, because the reality is that modeling is all about showcasing your physical attributes, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, as a profession, that's one skill set that we need to have as models.
Mm.
So usually when you're getting ready to do a fashion week, you have fittings prior to that. So where all the models come together, choreographers come together, and designers bring in their clothes and they fit them on the models based on their measurements. So they give out clothes to models and they say that, okay, we'll see which body is going to do the maximum justice to this silhouette versus this silhouette. So that's the designer's call. And one of the fittings was taking a long time. The designer wanted to, think over it and brainstorm and all that. And the model was like, oh, we're like hangers. Then like, that's our job.
Mm.
You're in this profession for a certain thing and the gratification of being on ramp and working for certain designers in the country. And we're here to do this.
Mm.
So I was like, but we are hangers.
Mm.
We have to do this. And there's nothing to feel so bad or sad about it. She was tired at the end of the day, standing in heels for such a long time. I get that perspective. I remember while I was growing, I used to watch this show called America's Next Top Model, where Tyra Banks, who was this huge, phenomenal celebrity superstar model of her time, she was the judge of it. And I used to watch it season after season. And I used to see how in that competition they would have one winner and how that winner would go on to gracing covers and walking for the top designers like Dior or Chanel. And they would show that entire journey in a reality TV format. I was enamored by it all. And I'm like, as a kid who used to watch it on TV, I'm getting to do that in real life. I'm getting to live a dream that I saw as a child. So I love it.
Nice. Now that Rahul has convinced you and your mom and dad that Miss India is the next big initiative, so love for you to share what lessons did you take away from that whole experience, and some of the challenges which came your way as you navigated that training for the pageant.
So at that time, Miss India used to go to, I guess, 4 or 5 major cities. So they would shortlist girls from these cities and then bring them to Bombay for another final round of shortlisting to get their final 21 or 22 contestants that would be in the running to become the Miss India. And I made through that round, went to Bombay, made it through the final round in Bombay. Then I was actually going back in an auto rickshaw back to my guest room that dad had booked in Bombay. I get a call saying that you're in the final 21. We want you to come back to the hotel right now. And we're going to start briefing you girls as to how we'll prep you. So I was all excited. I went back and they got us together and we went into a 30-day training process. All the contestants were put through a rigorous training every day. We had an itinerary designed for us. There would be different mentors who would come. So someone like Queenie Singh, who's also a former Miss India herself, she would come and coach us as to how to present ourselves. There was a beautiful model called Alisa Dawar. She would come and teach us how to walk the ramp. Then we would get groomed for clothes. Every minute was decided for us, even from our diet, from what we were eating. I got introduced to an ABC juice at that time, which I still drink, called the apple carrot beetroot juice. And my mom, when she saw me by the end of the 30 days, she's like, your cheeks are even pinker. So I'm like, I think it's that ABC juice. We had very good fitness experts who were working with us. I think that was the first time they had televised the entire Miss India training process of 30 days on television.
Wow. Mm-hmm.
And simultaneously, there was also a documentary filmmaker that was making a documentary film about girls in India and the dichotomy between the privilege that some of us have entering into the pageant world with families that have a liberal mindset versus the girl child problem in India that exists even today, right? So all of those shoots were happening while we were training to become Miss Indias, to be our best selves. But also at that young age, when you're pitted against 21 other beautiful girls, the sense of competition that also comes in when everyone's trying to overreach herself and perform, that can be quite daunting. And I remember getting quite overwhelmed with that. I'm not a very loud person in general.
I can see that. I was wondering about that too. Yeah.
And I am a performer. You tell me to do a task, I'll do it. Sometimes I used to get so overwhelmed, overstimulated, scared, because you're in competition. And I'm like, my God, these girls are so much more. So the imposter syndrome was also there, that am I worthy enough to be amongst all of these? Because everyone's good. And I have never been taught to be loud, or I'm just not uh, made that way. So will I make the cut? That is something that used to haunt me every night. But I guess the preparation went a long way, because while we were preparing in that training, I would come back to my room and then the training would happen with my parents on call. So mom would do a little question answer back and forth. Dad would give me more news updates because he knew I wasn't much of an avid newspaper reader at that age. And it eventually paid off, all the grooming, all the work, and all the fears and being scared, performing, making great friends for life. So yeah, my roommate Jyoti, she's in Canada now, but we're friends for life. Uh, that's one of the beautiful things that came out of it, but it wasn't easy either.
Clearly, Team Hasleen is very strong. So, was there any other go-to person at that time?
Um, so I remember I had actually sourced out the number of the previous year's pageant winner, Manasvi Mamgai. She'd won the title in 2010. And I connected with her. I requested her. I said, I just want to get some tips from your side. And she gave me tips, but she's like, you speak well. You seem like you'll be able to hold yourself together on the stage. You'll be able to answer questions. But Hasleen, one thing you need to keep in mind is that you need to look like $1,000,000 every day when you even walk down for your grooming session. Don't look like a mess. Put your best foot forward, because you are being judged every day. They're already giving you points from now on. And then I sort of rallied, and I got a very dear friend of mine together at that time, and a few others who were working in the fashion industry, and they all came together. They sent me clothes and jewelries and bags and heels just for me to look my ultimate best. I remember the designer Gavin, who had designed our pageant gowns. He came to my room. They were sifting through our own wardrobe once, just to tell us, okay, Hasleen, you should wear this for this interview, this for this interview. And when he was going through my wardrobe, I remember him saying, my God, you have some amazing dresses. And I'm like, thank God Manasvi gave me that tip. And thank God I had a set of wonderful friends who put all of this together for me. One particular friend of mine, he was working with a fashion e-commerce company. They would bring international designers and labels to India. So I had some which usually one wouldn't have access to, but I had those clothes with me in my wardrobe. I think it all just came together very beautifully for me.
So, in a sense, something told you that you're not going to be able to do this alone. You need more people in this journey.
Absolutely. I think it took multiple people. It takes a team to make anything work. You can never be a solo person riding. You need a set of people to mentally calm you down, for a support system that can rally up the resources where you may not have the reach.
Let's shift gears and talk about the next big leap. Stepping into the film industry, especially without coming from a film family, is no small decision, right? So, share with us what was going through your mind when you made that leap. What inspired you to take that step, and how did you find the courage to navigate those uncharted waters?
Um, it was a completely new world for me. My parents didn't know anybody. I didn't have anybody hand holding me. I had to figure it out on my own, ask people around, like who are the right casting agents, or who are the right people to talk to, who will give me a break, what do I need to do to showcase myself as a model or an actor, or to enter into the world of acting. I have my parental support and I have some money from their side, but I don't have lakhs and lakhs of rupees to splurge like a lot of, uh, you know, young aspirants who have parents in the industry who can spend money on classes, grooming, workshops, sending them to film schools. I didn't have that. And I also felt like I'm here in Bombay. I want to make the most of it. Time may be running out, so I don't want to enroll myself in a big acting school for many years also. So I went helter skelter, just asking people to uh, introduce me. I was with really good agencies also, I'll be honest, who were making the connections. Right after Miss India, it just sort of opens a lot of doors of opportunities, whether it's ad campaigns or songs or movies or regional cinema also. So, you know, getting a meeting to happen was still easy, but it wasn't as easy as a lot of kids who come from the film background. It still took a lot of convincing. And like I said, I'm not a very loud person. I'm not very out there. So I would walk into meetings sometimes, just be myself. And over the years, I learned that that's not enough. You have to put your best foot forward. You have to sometimes fake it till you make it. Have that attitude. You have to uh, sometimes drop names, know people. You have to work on your craft, of course. You have to be good at what you do. You have to crack the audition. But at the same time, it is a whole package, right? You have to walk into a room and you meet a director. If he sees you, he'll be like, okay, ye meri star hai, you know? So that was a learning that took me a long time to get an understanding of. I did not have a mentor, uh, so to say. At the same time, I was young. I used to miss my family while I was in Bombay. I was like, I wish I had someone. Uh, my parents were working, so they couldn't leave and come and join me in Bombay. My brother was working, and I was all by myself. And that was also, I was like, it's a little difficult to do this all by myself, but it also made me a lot like the person that I am today. I can be independent no matter where you send me, wherever I am, any country or any work scenario. I make friends very easily because I was pushed into this space where I just had to meet strangers every day and introduce myself and be out there. So yeah, it took a lot of learning to get to that stage.
It's almost like a given that anybody who's a Miss India or pageant winner takes on acting. My question is that did the precedents guide your path, or is it that somewhere deep inside you wanted to get into acting, or you knew this is going to open doors for you and you wanted to, tap into that opportunity? Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely, Anna. And actually, in India, the Miss India pageant is mostly used as a stepping stone to get into the film industry. Like I said, I liked performing. I liked being in front of the camera. And the next best step, if I was putting a full year out of my life away from my studies or getting a job in advertising, it had to be something that catapulted me into a better career opportunity. And Miss India is a stepping stone for that. And talent is a huge round that's given a lot of importance in the Miss India pageant. And a lot of girls showcase their talent for what they would actually display as an actress. I think my imposter syndrome at that time caught up because everyone had such nice pieces, rehearsed and prepared. And I felt like, I don't know whether mine's going to be good enough. So I didn't do mine. But it's like showcasing your talent because it's going to be televised. Everyone's going to see it. People from the industry come and attend the grand finale, which is producers, directors, actors, and magazine editors. I knew if this is the line I'm choosing, so Miss India needs to add value.
So help us understand, how did you prepare yourself for the acting world? For the potential wins, the failures or flops?
Firstly, everything requires for you to study the craft. And I went and did some workshops. I read some books. I asked my peers around me how they are doing it. There were a lot of already working actors who were still taking the workshop to sharpen their skills. So I would talk to them. I would get an understanding about how things really work, how to crack the audition. Because I've done so many auditions in my life. But for the longest time, I was doing auditions thinking that I'm doing it right, but I wasn't.
What does that mean?
Not getting the character right, not looking the part. And sometimes it wasn't me. Sometimes it was me just not fitting into what the director's vision might have been.
Sure.
I also felt that I had to work a lot more on myself, getting a better understanding what character breakdown is, how stories are made, how you should be in front of the camera, get your angles right. So these are things that I've learned and I picked up along the way. When I got to the point where I got selected and did my first film, there was a lot of on the job training again. I would look at the other actors. I would keenly observe how they are on and off camera as well, like how they are as people, how they are treating people around them, how they work as a team member. Um, and for emoting on camera, uh, what I've learned now, and I'm still learning, is that the deeper you go within to really feel an emotion as realistically as possible and be in that moment to display that emotion is when you'll be able to connect with the audience. It's a skill that you hone over the years. I'm still not there. But just when I was doing Tu Jhoti Main Makar with Ranbir Kapoor, we used to observe that man, how the way he used to switch on and switch off between action and cut, what he was after cut, how relaxed and how normal, but still be in the character when called out action. He had lived that character and that emotion multiple times before he actually got on set. So practice makes perfect. So observing people, Shraddha Kapoor, Dimple Kapadia. I worked with Randeep Hooda in a show on Netflix called Cat. He's a phenomenal actor. Just observing these people, apart from the training and the workshops I did, but they don't prepare you as well as you get prepared on set. You know, you put in front of like a 200, 300 crew member team and you're emoting and you're acting and you're getting ready and you're running to set and you're getting there on time and you are doing scene number 38 on day one. You still need to feel the part. All of that happened while I was on set.
Hasleen, your first film didn't succeed, and the next two didn't release. Those are not easy things to deal with. So, how do you navigate those setbacks and keep yourself going?
Um, it was actually quite disappointing because 2014 is when Kar Le Pyar Kar Le released, and I was opposite Shiv Darshan, who was the son of Sunil Darshan, the very well-known director, producer of his time. He had delivered some massive hits in the 90s. And when he was launching his son, I felt like this is going to be the perfect opportunity because, you know, he's going to go above and beyond to make sure that
Mm.
this movie lands. And I was really excited. The movie had all the right masala, so to say, to make it work as a Bollywood flick. Unfortunately, we tanked almost immediately. Either it was a storyline or maybe as debutants, we were not received very well. Or there could be various factors. But I know I was really sad. And I treated this to be my entry into Bollywood.
Mm.
I did sign 2 films after that, right after that, but those films did not see the light of the day. And after KPK, I was sitting at home for the longest time. And I never really stopped modeling completely.
Mm.
So I'm like, I'll continue to model and I have to keep myself busy. So I had my advertising work that was always going hand in hand because I knew for a fact that I will never sit idle. I will constantly keep working. If this does not work, this will work. And I was making use of all the time that I had free in between. Because as a model or an actor, there are days when you're working or months when you're working, and then there are months where you're sitting at home doing nothing. So that nothing void I wanted to fill by having another alternate career.
Mm.
So the slump, or I would say the fact that it would have hit me as hard and it didn't, was that I was really busy.
Mm.
And I kept working on it. I still kept auditioning. And I also feel like there is no harm in, I still feel that there's no harm in restarting again. There's no harm in reaching out to casting directors or directors and sending out your work or sending out your latest demo reel and reintroduce yourself to someone and say, I still do it till today. I'd like to come and introduce myself and meet you. That is something that I feel no one should take for granted. Miss India was a big high for me. I was doing magazine cover pages. I was on the front page of Times of India. People had an idea about this name called Hasleen Kaur, but then people forget there are new Miss Indias every year.
Yeah.
So, what do you keep doing to keep yourself relevant? And one thing I'd like to add to this, Enma, is that being in the industry, it's a very hard world.
Mm.
And there are very few superstars who've continuously delivered and who've been on the top. But everyone has had their lows. And we do see some sort of crazy news about how some actors have dealt with their lows also, right? But I felt like I was always preparing myself that things may not always go my way. There will be ups and downs, and I need to be able to deal with it. But at the same time, still keep working on my craft, and that one day it's going to happen, and keep putting myself out there. Continue to do what I love, and somewhere or the other, I will find my kind of people who would appreciate what I do.
So you spoke earlier also about the fact that you didn't have too many mentors, in this journey. So who was then your go-to person in these moments of disillusionment or when you felt dejected or failure hit you? Because we all know failures, probably in this industry more than any other, often outnumber successes.
That's true, Emma. I think for me, it was my family each time. Mom and dad have always been so supportive. Instead of taking science in 11th, I wanted to do commerce. And my mom was like, initially, she was flabbergasted, saying, you got full marks in biology, you had 1 mark less in physics, but you still want to take commerce. I don't know why. But she's like, okay, do it. I wanted to continue doing extracurricular activities in school. It did not hamper my studies. I was always a good student, but somewhere it interfered, never a problem. When I was modeling, dad would drive me around, always supportive. I remember in Miss India, we had photo shoots where we had to wear bikinis and we had a bikini round as well. And my dad was calling up his very dear school friend who was living in Australia then, saying that I don't think I can find the right bikini for my daughter here in India. Can you just send me some? I'll send you her size. And he actually couriered them to India. I'm using these as examples just to let you know, Emma, that mom and dad have never said no to me for anything.
Mm.
There were a lot of lows when I was living in Bombay all by myself, and I would give auditions and they would not work out. And for a long period of time after the Karle Pyar Karle debacle, I was not doing any acting work. And I used to feel quite dejected that here I have my parents who were giving me all the support and the freedom to go live my dreams in a strange city that they don't know either, surrounded by any and every kind of person that could take me for a ride, but still having the faith that their daughter will do it. And I was like, what do I even tell them? That it's not working out, my auditions are not, reaching anywhere, or what I want to do, that's not happening. I was busy as a model and working, but then they said that if you've gone to Bombay to achieve a certain dream, what's happening? They would, as parents, ask, okay, you gave this audition, you were very excited, we helped you prepare for it. What happened? But at the same time, they have always been my cushion for everything. I can tell them whatever is in my mind, and they would listen and they would guide me, even in my lows. Uh, if I'm feeling depressed, they are the people I go to, and they'll get me out of it. So it's my family and my brother as well. They bring me out of it.
That's beautiful. And labeling those emotions and solving for them and addressing them, I think that's critical in this industry again. So you've spoken time and again about the fact that you kept many things going, right? And I think it was in a sense your coping mechanism. So, talk to us about creative culture and maybe some key highlights.
Before creative culture, I had actually co-founded a company in 2012 called We Beasts, web and then East. So it was to do with anything and everything on the web. So from creating websites to doing digital campaigns on the web. So we had a rocky start, but then we worked on some really good brands and some really nice campaigns. 2017, I branched out and then I started creative culture, where again we do similar work, And we also have now gotten into producing a lot of shoots for brands. So, as I said, I was quite enamored by it. That's why I wanted to get into it. And because I took the track of Miss India, I could not work in the corporate world. I still wanted to have a piece of that on my own, and which is why I started my own company. And I feel like creative culture has, like you said, it's been a good coping mechanism for me. But at the same time, it has never stopped me from learning another passion that I always had.
Also want to understand about the NGOs you work with, and especially women empowerment. It's so aligned to the mission of Atlanta Diaries.
So, as part of my Miss India campaign, um, I also had to build a social work portfolio because when you go for an international pageant, you need to have had made some impact and made use of your title and how you can uh, become a mouthpiece to problems within your country. So I reached out to Navjyoti India Foundation.
Mm-hmm.
Dr. Kiran Bedi is a founder of that, and I started working with them.
Mm.
We did a lot of fundraising for them. We went to some remote villages in Haryana where women are the main breadwinners of the family because their partners, they don't do anything, but they had no wherewithal. They needed vocational training. So the NGO was conducting a lot of training classes, helping them to learn things. So I've been part of that just to meet them, motivate them, groom them, get them to come out of their shell. Whatever resources you need, we can provide you with that. I've done some fundraising for the NGO. We did that in Bangalore with SAP Labs. And, we just rallied up a bunch of people together, created like a fashion event and got some money raised and then gave it to Navjyoti India Foundation. And I've continued to work with them regularly. It's been over 13, 14 years now.
Yeah. So, Asleen, there are these societal and codes which are deeply ingrained, and these societal codes have shaped how women navigate leadership and opportunities. How do you see these codes manifesting in the entertainment and film industry? And what steps do you think are necessary to redefine them?
So I can speak for what I have observed and what I live through. In the entertainment industry, I feel you have to firstly cross the gender barrier and have people in position of power to see you for your craft and your talent, right?
Hmm.
And sometimes you're only and only seen as a beautiful girl, a sexy woman, and you need to like sort of push people to be able to see beyond that. So that takes a long time. That is an obstacle that most men don't face. They just have to network, do a lot of hard work on their talent. If they are good, they'll bag a good deal and they can keep working on it. Also, there is a lot of pressure put on women of how they conduct themselves on set. There is gossip in general on set, but there's also a lot of, focus and attention given to how a woman is, conducting herself and things like when you've gone 18 hours without sleep, when you're on set, you're being pulled in different directions. You have to do your job also. You can get a little angsty, but to be able to display that, sense of frustration or anger at something is not always taken in a very nice way. So, and that's happened with me personally, where people have really misunderstood me and felt like, she has an attitude or that she had an outburst. And there could have been reasons that culminated into that emotion for me, but I just felt like they should have cut me some slack, right?
Hmm.
Whereas had it been a male counterpart, there would have been talk about it, but I feel like the pressure is more on women.
Yeah.
And then we have to work harder. We have to view what's around us and conduct ourselves accordingly. And it's just an extra effort that we have to make each time. Also, I think pay parity. That's the talk of every industry. And even in this industry, where male counterpart would be getting a very high salary or a high fee for a project, a film project, or a TV series or whatever. But for the same amount of time and effort and days given by a woman to the project, she would not be paid equally.
Hmm.
I think recently Kareena Kapoor had also given a statement where she demanded and she said, I will only do it if I'm getting the same amount of money as my co-actor. So we also are very guarded. That needs to be put down between women. We need to transparently talk about, how much one should be paid. How much are you getting paid? This is what I'm getting paid. These are the people I'm going to meet. You can also come and meet them. Because I've seen male actors, they move around in groups. They're helping each other out all the time. Whereas women still are very guarded and they're still solo travelers. And if we come together as groups and help each other and rally up our resources, that if not me, you get the project, but we are all making the connections together as a group, which will eventually benefit us all. That's a mindset that as women in the entertainment industry, we need to have. Stick together and just be there to help each other, and also really, really talk about the mental hazards that come with it all. Being in constant scrutiny, being expected to look good, physical standards that you need to live up to. These are things that people should talk about, give more leeway, understand a woman's emotions. We are led by our emotions as a gender, and it needs to be a lot more inclusive and comforting for a woman to feel happy to be on set. And that is something I want to work on, talk to people, get them to warm up.
This was really very helpful, and I'm really hoping that, with all these inputs and all these suggestions, we're able to take this conversation to the next level. And on that note, what advice would you like to give to your younger self?
To my younger self and to young girls who are getting into this industry, hard work and discipline, honestly, is something that every girl does. I've seen most young girls wanting to be in this industry, they're disciplined enough and focused to have it done. But I feel like also when I was younger, instead of focusing so much and 100% only and only on the talent and the craft, I should have also focused a lot more in increasing my business acumen. The power to negotiate well, to learn how to network. There are no business networking groups in the film industry. Like as an entrepreneur or a tech guy or girl, or you have these groups that you can become a part of and network. But in this industry, that is something that a lot of people don't come out of their shell because they're so focused, and so was I, on the talent aspect of it. I should have looked more on the business side of things. This is at the end of the day a profession.
Yeah.
It's a profession that you've gotten into that should make you money also, right? I should be able to look at it as a businesswoman, study it, study the other people who've done it, see what the patterns are, how they've made it work, input those patterns for myself, and literally do a thesis or do a study of your own and figure the steps of how to make it work. Because talent is there. You'll work on it, right? And it's not always so much about the talent. About 50 to 60%.
Very insightful, Hasleen. Looks like there's an idea out here. Thinking of Hasleen or any potential actress as a brand in their own right, and therefore build it holistically and not just focus on one or two other things. Thank you for doing this conversation with me.
Thank you so much, Enma. This has been wonderful. Thank you so much.
Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed the episode, do hang on for just one more minute. I have a request for you. If you haven't already, please subscribe to Atlanta Diaries on Spotify, iTunes, or whichever platform you follow. Do join us in our mission to empower and inspire by sharing the podcast with a friend or colleague. It will be great if you can share on the social media platforms you follow, be it LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, or any other. Please leave a review or rating on iTunes or Spotify. It really helps us reach a wider audience. Lastly, I wanted to share with you that many of my coaching clients and listeners have created a cheat sheet with their key takeaways from the episodes. I invite you to consider jotting down one or two key takeaways as you navigate your amazing journey. Have a wonderful rest of the day and see you next week for another inspiring journey on Atlanta Diaries.